Hi, everybody. I am so grateful to see you all. Thank you all for joining us. We are going to have some fun and bust through uh, some all kinds of false ceilings that really don't exist. Be'ezras Hashem. We are going to be together for approximately an hour. I'm going to try and keep it tight, try and keep it to around an hour, not to burden everybody with a long spiel. Hi, everybody who's coming in. Great to see your faces. Hi, everybody who's going to be listening on the recording and watching on the recording. It is always an inspiring schus to get together with holy Jewish women. And just the power of being together is already going to bring, you don't have a camera? Okay, but I see your name. The power of getting together is already going to do so much for us and creates a beautiful holding space where change can take place. Okay, where each person who's here is contributing.
Mumble jumble.
1 second, just going to make sure everybody is on a mute. Let's just do that. Let me see. 1 second. Or if everyone could just mute yourselves, yeah, you go ahead. Thank you, everybody. Keep yourselves on mute. And if you want to unmute and ask a question, by all means, you can go ahead and do that. Hi, it's really great to see everybody as you're coming in. Because it's being recorded, I'm not going to call you all out by name. If you want to, you can definitely speak up. I don't know who likes to have your name mentioned or who doesn't. So just to protect everybody's privacy, we'll keep your names to yourself. But if you see somebody that you know you'd like to say hi to, you can always reach out in the chat. I am going to encourage everybody to be in touch today with at least one person that you see in this community, because what we want to do is to create change in one area. In one area today, we're going to aim to create some kind of shift, some kind of change. And the power of the community is going to back us up on this. It is proven by research that when we want to make a change and we are accountable to a group or to a person in a group, we are already more than 90% likely to make that shift. And even if it's a 1 degree shift, that 1 degree shift, we are more than 90% more likely to make it if we have somebody to whom we're accountable. And if that is a group accountability, that makes it even more. So you just have become the community group to make us all accountable, to make a 1 degree shift that Be'ezras Hashem is going to make all the difference in the way that we go forward. The tool that we're going to be using today, I shared with you all in an email that was just sent out, but I'm going to put it into the chat as well. Just going to I have a Google Doc open for myself with all of the links so that I can just quickly put them into the chat. So here, I'm going to put them into the chat again. So everybody can open it right now and make your own copy so that you can add in your things online. This I developed some years ago for my coaching academy. And it was a kind of in the back of my mind coaching tool that I used really. I used myself behind the scenes for my coaching clients, meaning I don't always use it for coaching clients unless they're asking me for something like this. But it was something that I always used to, in a way, keep track of the context of my client's life. What do I mean by context? So you might have seen that I called it the matrix kind of intake. Matrix means it's the surroundings, it's the fabric of our lives. We don't exist independently. We exist in the fabric of our lives, whatever that is made of. And the fabric of our lives could be very challenging. But if there's a major challenge, but we have the balance in our life that supports us, if the fabric of our lives contains enough support, then the challenge is in a different kind of a context than if somebody who's going through a challenge is going through it utterly isolated, without any kind of support. It's a very different kind of matrix, a very different kind of context. So the context of our lives is vitally important. And it's not only the context of support or challenge. That's going to be some aspect. But as we're going to be going through today, Be'ez Hashem, this kind of matrix intake that we're going to be doing together. Again, we're going to be doing it together as a group, but everybody individually, and there's absolutely no imperative to share anything. But I am going to encourage some sharing. I will never share your name unless you actually ask me to. In sharing things that you're writing in, you can write to me privately, in which case nobody will see what you've written. You can write to the group as a whole, and then you may get some feedback and some input from the community, which is definitely what a worthwhile step to take. But the reason why I'm going to ask you to put things in is because I want this session that you've carved out this time to be here. I want it to be relevant to all of you. So it's a general document, and it covers many different aspects of our lives. But I want your help in making it relevant for you. So right away, and I'm going to be taking notes right now on the things that you tell me, whether you tell me privately or whether you put them into the general chat. I want you to tell me if we could come away with one thing that you need help with today. What would it be? If you wanted to make one shift in your life, a 1% shift, between 1 and 3% shift in your life today, and that at the end of this hour, you have a really good idea of what that would be, and that the power of this community can help support you in that one shift, what would it be? Okay, what's been the main challenge that you really became much more aware of over Pesach? Pesach is one of those times where whatever it is that we're dealing with becomes much more acute. It becomes much more significant. Life situations somehow that are not in our eyes, somehow like they really seem to become more clear to us, and unfortunately more painful. So a lot of us maybe got some clarity about, oh, this is something that I'm really dealing with big time. So if we could address one issue today, put in the chat either personally to me or to the group. What would it be? What would you want to come out with today? Okay, so again, I can say this out because it was sent directly to me privately. The confidence to move forward with career or parnasa or project-based or part-time work. Okay, so here there's the confidence. Fantastic. You want the confidence to move forward. Beautiful. Thank you for putting that into the chat here. Okay. Anybody else want to put down either to me or making boundaries with family members in a positive way? Beautiful. Okay. So important. Making boundaries with family in a positive way. Okay. Yeah. Feeling stuck. Fantastic. Okay. Maybe you want to be a little bit more direct. You put it into, to everybody, but maybe you want to be a bit more direct. You want to be unstuck about what? Okay. Let me know. Time management with exercise and organization. Okay, it's about finding time for exercise and organizing. So it's all about time management, or it's three different things: time management, exercise, and organization. Maybe you want to clarify that. I want to create a center to support pregnant women. Wow, beautiful goal. Amazing. Beautiful. Okay, fantastic for you. Yeah, Yitti, you posted that for everybody. Fantastic and beautiful. Thank you for putting that in. Okay, so you want to have less negative thinking. Okay. Next, negative thinking. Beautiful. And you want to expand your social network. Great to see you on. I love seeing all of your names. It's like oh, old friends joining together. I really love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I want to expand my social network. All of you who don't know each other, I'm just letting everybody know. Everyone here is a diamond, is a gem, has a golden heart, and you're in a really beautiful place. I just want everybody to know it's a beautiful place here. You want to expand your social network. What a beautiful goal, okay? Okay, so due to feeling overwhelmed, I need meaningful time for me. Probably through an activity that will strengthen me to be more of me there for others. Beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know how many of you saw the email that I sent out just today about about me having taken out the time to be in the play. I don't expect anybody to go out and say, well, I need to, direct a play and be in a play. And that's definitely how it showed up for me in my life. And spending those few months was such a an energy reset for me. It was inspiring, it was motivating, it was fantastic to really like sink myself into the community in a way that I hadn't for a very long time. So for me, it was energizing and meaningful in so many ways. I hope that everybody will come out of today with something that we might not have thought of until now. Or maybe it's been lurking in our blind spot for a long time, which is why we haven't really looked at it face on. And that's really what the power of connecting with other people is about. Is sometimes we can just get around the blind spot and see things in a little bit of a different way, so that we can actually take on something, just a 1% shift, that's going to make all the difference. When I did this intake matrix with one of my clients who actually had asked for something particularly like this, the thing that came up that she needed to work on most was something that was a little bit sticky for her, right? Of course. I did some of the directing. I did some directing, I did some producing. It wasn't, what happened was, I couldn't write the whole story in the email, but what happened was, a group of ladies from Beitar wrote the play. They did a fantastic job. I wasn't involved in that at all. And then when they were ready to start doing the rehearsals, I contacted my friend who was involved in the writing and was the one who was putting it out. Then I said, look, I am volunteering to help you in any way possible. And she said, okay, great, come along to the meeting they were having the next day. They had a meeting and we started preparing. And then that friend ended up having to go and deal with numerous health crises within her family that came up with her mother and other family members. And she ended up being out of town. And I ended up sort of stepping in and taking on way more hats than I'd planned initially. But because I knew that it was limited, it was only going to be maximum a 3-month project. And that after the play, I would just go back to my regular relatively anonymous life in Beitar. I could allow myself to go for it and just have a blast, which I did actually, and many of us did have a blast, Baruch Hashem. So let's see. So I have a dream. Was allowed to dream. I'd love to create a super safe, anonymous space for, and I'm going to say this out loud because other people are actually mentioning some different kinds of things. So this is going to be a safe space to mention all kinds of stuff. I'd love to create a super safe, anonymous space for women whose husbands went outside of the marriage and they chose to stay and build the marriage. Okay? I'm sharing that because this is a safe space for women. Okay? Another woman is saying, I would like to restart a support group for women who were sexually abused as children, either Zoom or in person. I want to give a massive call out to both of those two women and anybody else in the community who is dealing with any kind of these kinds of challenges. And this is exactly what I was just mentioning before, that these kinds of challenges tend to isolate the person who's suffering because where's the safe space to be able to mention such a thing? And so when we can create a safe space, when we can create a haven, a place where such a situation can be explored, shared, at least as a place for someone else to say, I've been there and I know what that's like, and you're not alone and you're not crazy when you're dealing with that. Creating such safe spaces are so important. And a massive call out to everybody. I'm just going to celebrate. I'm just going to celebrate the dreams of all of these women. That this is my way of celebrating, is doing that. And I'll send some hearts. I love sending hearts to balloons and hearts. It's a massive celebration to all the women who are dreaming of supporting other women in any kind of way, because women in our generation need support. You really do. Okay. And doing this is fantastic. Yes, of course I remember you. You took my positive thinking some 13 years ago. You're her niece. Okay. Wow. Okay, so it's lovely to have the next generation online. Baruch Hashem. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, you want to be volunteering in a hospice. Wow. I did that before I got married. There's a hospice in Yerushalayim, the French hospital it's called. And I remember going in and cleaning the tables. And actually I have a gift, right, from one of the husbands whose wife was there in the hospice. It's exceptionally fulfilling to be able to go and do such things. And yes, great typing it in the chat, okay? Because doing such a thing, when you put it into the chat, you've just given this community the chance to be more of a safe, gentle place where you can be. We can a little bit hold you accountable to this. Not that we're going to send you emails and say where, when you're going, but you've put it in the chat and you've told us about it. Okay, the things that you're putting in the chat are out of the ballpark important. Okay, anything that you wrote, maybe it's too sensitive to say here. No, it's not too sensitive. It's exactly what the women need, so that women don't feel isolated, and so that women have the support to do the things that are so important. Okay, so you've said some really important things here. Now let's go to question number 2. What's been stopping you? Okay, what's been stopping you from doing all of these things? And I'm going to start writing this down. Okay, what's been stopping you moving forward with the dream? What's been stopping you going to volunteer in the hospice? What's been stopping you from not thinking so negatively about your married children and how they deal with chinuch? What's been stopping you? So again, you said fear of hurting someone because of lacking experience. So what? Tell me exactly what you want to do there that's been holding you back. What's making you stuck in your career? You're going to provide massages, healing, education, pleasurable things. Beautiful, fantastic. What you're going to be doing is so important. What's been stopping you? Okay, what's been stopping you from, when you're feeling overwhelmed and tired, from making meaningful time for yourself? What's been stopping you from doing that? What's been stopping Linda from expanding your social network? It's all one thing. Thank you for clarifying that. What's been stopping you from making healthy boundaries with your family in a positive way? What's been stopping you from having the confidence to move forward with your career and parnasa, or finding part-time work? What's been stopping you from doing these things? I'm going down to the chat. Fear of exposure. Yep, that makes sense when you talk about something sensitive, right? Okay. I don't want to put a wedge between family members. Yeah, that can make sense. We don't want to make things worse. We don't want to create problems by putting in boundaries. False beliefs that have stopped me, that I'm now stuck with. My new baby and other children to take care of, and being tired. Yeah, that could definitely create a limit in the amount of time that we feel is available. Okay. It was when I was 6 weeks after birth with my 4th child when I began my work with the Nishain Beitar, and that was around 30 years ago now. That baby is now, Baruch Hashem, married with with her own 4, Baruch Hashem. And again, it was 6 weeks after birth, and I got a phone call from the Rav in Beitar that he wanted a Nishay to begin, and I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. And it was just around this time of year. It was right before Shavuos where we had our first event. And so sometimes it can be actually right where we feel, how can I can't fit a toothpick into my life, That's exactly when we sometimes find the strength to do it. Preconceived notions. Great that you realize that it's preconceived notions that are preventing you. Being physically able to visit and encourage the burn patients in hospital. Yeah. Okay. So physically it's become hard to do that. And you've traditionally, that's how you've been doing it. And so it's about being creative now and coming up with new options, right? Identifying either more help in helping you to be able to do it, or identifying new creative ways of doing that, or training other people to do it. I'm trained in craniosacral massage. I do have a blocking from getting started to use my training. Does anyone, where there's a hospice in Yerushalayim near Ramat Eshkol? Okay, well, everybody, you've been called to answer if there is a hospice near Ramat Eshkol. I don't know of that one. I don't know of a Jewish hospice. Maybe people know where there's a Jewish-run hospice in Yerushalayim area, because the one that I went to, again, talking about 35 years ago, was not Jewish-run. But probably by now there is a Jewish one. Okay, so let's get into some strategies. Okay, I'm going to open my document. I'm going to share my screen. I'm hoping that. Let me just. Sorry, let me just go back. Rather, 1 second. Just go open it. Let's get it open. Okay, the Life Matrix Inventory. Let's have a look in it, and we're going to do this together. Each one is going to do it for themselves, okay? We're going to take a little bit of a look at our lives, and you're going to have a chance to look at, here's the actual inventory, and here's questions. We're not going to get stuck on the questions or any one particular question. You're going to have as much time as you want afterwards to go through this. For as long as you like. Okay, I'm going to read through it quickly so that you get an idea of the kinds of situations. And again, just to understand where this came from. I use this, again, behind the curtain to, in my own way, keep tabs on my clients and try and figure out where they may be blind in their own lives. Maybe they're focusing on all the output that they're doing, but they're not getting enough input. That's usually the common theme for most Jewish women, right? Most Jewish women are not great at doing the input for themselves. In fact, we're great at ignoring our needs, putting everybody else first. And unfortunately, a friend of mine just told me recently that a member of her family, and I won't even say what kind of relative it is, but a member of her family, an elderly female, was caring for everybody. She could barely walk for so many years, and she needed to have a knee transplant, a knee operation, and she never found the time to do it. And now it's too late. She can't do that knee operation, and she can barely walk, and she's in such pain. And my heart bleeds for such a situation that, again, we don't live somebody else's life. But it's so sad. And I want this to be a cautionary tale for all of us. How bad do we need it to get until it's too bad and it's irreversible damage that we call for ourselves because we don't put the fix in place today? Okay? So again, I don't want any of us to have to get into such a situation, but this is a story from today. This is not from, the generation before the war of a woman who just never put in the time because it never seemed to be the right time to go and have that operation and be kind of out of circulation for 6 weeks to the 3 months it would take to heal from the knee surgery. But now she cannot walk, and now she's really dependent on other people for almost everything. Very sad, right? We don't want to be there. So again, just skimming through this briefly. A matrix is an environment or material in which something develops. It is the surrounding medium or structure. We live in the matrix of our lives. The matrix is where we live in time, in space, in relationships. It's where we are. So step one is use these questions to help you, yourself, or potential clients to become aware of imbalance in any of the areas of you or your life's environments and understand how to create balance and a sense of well-being. The purpose of doing this together is to create an understanding of potential blind spots that have been blocking us, or to help us to understand where we kind of need a bit of a push in order to make that commitment to ourselves for the 1 to 3% shift that we're prepared to put in today. In order to make a massive change down the line, we don't need to move massively today. We know what trajectory means, okay? The direction in which something is going. And we know that if a rocket starts off going straight and the trajectory is exact, it will go to where it needs to go. And if it's a millimeter off course at NASA, it's going to be way off course when it gets out into space. And so a 1 degree shift in how we aim right down here, right now, can end up making a massive difference down the line. I hope many of you read my email about Tuesdays and how Tuesdays changed my life. I had no idea how much Tuesdays would change my life when I decided, okay, I'm not going to work on Tuesdays. I'm going to designate Tuesdays for some family time, because when we find that there are, for me, it was I have many people that I want to show up for in my family, many people that I want to be there for, and I was finding it overwhelming at all different times. For me, it was actually a scale down. Somebody told me, you're so dedicated that you devoted a whole day. For me, it actually was, I did it for me. I was able to scale down the amount of time that I put into my family, into the family, by putting it all in one clump, rather than having them come at all kinds of days and nights and not having a sense of when it was going to be. But since they all knew, And it's now become in the, in the consciousness of the family. Tuesdays is by Bobby. Tuesdays is going to be here. So they know they're going to see me on Tuesday or on Shabbos. And so I was free to be able to create other periods of time that were, as it were, family free. So I was able to put in time for art and to develop art, which was never in my, I never dreamed that I was going to discover art in my life, or for other kinds of things, to open up coaching academy, which I never dreamed that I was going to. All of these things became possible because I limited, actually. It wasn't an expansion. It was a limit that I put onto Tuesdays. But giving it a name and making it available somehow created a momentum so that down the line, our family loves Tuesdays, and it's become an amazing family time. But it also freed me up in all kinds of different ways. And I didn't dream what that shift, which it didn't seem so monumental at the time. But I was able to work less and earn more because of that decision. When I decide how much I work. No one else decides how much I work. And I get to plan my days so that I work on Sunday, Monday, I take Tuesday off. I work Wednesday and Thursday, and then Shabbos, I make Shabbos and I have Shabbos. So I work in 2 intense blocks of time, Sunday and Monday, and Wednesday and Thursday. And then I have Tuesdays in the middle for the family, and the weekend I have for Shabbos. So it created a whole new energetic balance in my days and in my week. I didn't dream of the benefits that I was going to get at that time. So when you look through this list, try and have your inner mind, or try and be open to receiving from a Kadosh Baruch Hu now in the schus of the community that's surrounding you and creating this safe space for you right now, to be able to be open to where am I not showing up for myself in this area. Okay. I chose 4 basic areas because this is what I see my clients most struggling with. Okay. The area of relationships, the area of creativity or motivation, the area of self-care, and the area of conscientiousness. Now, conscientiousness might sound a little different. What's conscientiousness? There is a personality test called the Ocean Personality Test, OCEAN. I'm not going to go through it now in great depth because I'm having my eye on the clock, and I want us all to get something out of this within an hour. But basically, the greatest, the character trait that shows mental and emotional health the best is actually conscientiousness. What is conscientiousness? It is the capacity to do what we need to do, to show up. It's not one of those traits that is generally, celebrated. We don't think about the fun parent as the conscientious one. In fact, the opposite is often true. Often, the more fun parent is less conscientious. Conscientious means there's 3 meals a day in the laundry done. It means that the bills are paid, that the children have bedtime, that there's homework done, that the dental appointments are made, that the school uniforms are bought, that the shoes that the shoes fit. All of this stuff that the child has. If the child's got teeth problems, that they're going to the dentist, whatever. Conscientious means that if the child seems to be slipping behind in something, we notice and we move forward with it. It could be about talking about adult children. It could be talking about the neighbors. Conscientiousness also is about in our work. If we have a job, are we actually doing what the job is called for? Or is conscientiousness actually preventing us from showing up in some other area? Are we being too conscientious at work, which is taking away from our capacity to care for ourselves? So that I want to explain what conscientiousness is first, because I think that's maybe least understandable. Okay, relationships. Let's go through the questions. Which relationships support you and nurture you? And those of you who were trying to set healthy boundaries within your family, okay, just, keep your eye on these kinds of questions. In which relationships are you solely the nurturer? With our children, we're mostly going to be solely the nurturer. Or with our clients, we are the nurturer. That's appropriate. Do you have any challenging relationships that are sapping your emotional, physical bandwidth? Do you have any mutually supportive relationships? Those are going to be friendships. And those are going to be among our most important relationships. They're going to be with siblings who are of similar age. Or maybe if we have a young aunt who is accessible, young other female family members who are supportive. Okay. How much time do you spend in each of these relationships during our week? We may find that we are spending lots of time in our challenging, sapping relationships, and that we're spending relatively small amounts of time with our mutually supportive relationships because they're not demanding. So asking ourselves these questions and becoming aware of how much time we're spending is going to be eye-opening. And this can actually be a tool to help set boundaries in place with challenging family members. How so? When we start spending more time with healthy, supportive relationships, we may just simply become less available to the relationships that are sapping our strength. Okay? We can simply learn to say, I'm sorry, I'm not available then, because you actually have things in your calendar that are that you're just not available for those sapping relationships anymore. Do you spend time with friends? How much? In person, phone, or other? I read some fascinating research about deepening friendships. And one way to deepen friendships and relationships is by doing things together. Of course, spending time on the phone or Zoom, I mean, especially phone time is, traditionally women spend time with a lot of their friends on the phone. But if we never actually get together, there are some things that we'll never hear from our friends when it's only in phone. And so I know personally that the time I spend in person with friends, I will hear things from them. They'll hear things from me that didn't come up in a phone conversation because the physical presence creates more intimacy in the friendship, the capacity to share something. The chemistry is just different when you're sitting having coffee together than when you're on the other side of a phone line. But in addition, doing something together, you help your friend just put her kitchen back after Pesach together, or you just go sit or you go shopping together. When you do something together, there's actual brain patterns start working together. And so this is actually research-based. It's fascinating that spending time together, doing things together, deepens the different puts our brain patterns in sync, and so creates closer bonds. So just putting that out there, spending time is not the same as on the phone. Bear that in mind when you go through this. So if you're not spending so much time, who are some old friends you can catch up with? Where can you find like-minded women to become friends with? Call out ladies on this line. They are like-minded women. Okay, creativity and motivation. This is what I'm talking about, input, output. Any kind of output can be called creativity. If you love baking, it's your creativity. If you love acting, for me, okay, or art, for me, that's my creativity. If you just love looking at flowers or trees, that could be your creative output. Okay, it doesn't have to be something that other people necessarily see or recognize, but just for you. What one of the ladies on the line wrote, I need some me time where I experience myself. That's where this comes in. Okay, it's about creativity and motivation, and it's not about creating something that other people say wow about, but it's doing something, some kind of output that you value. Okay, in which areas of your life do you express your creativity and your uniqueness? What's your medium for this expression? With whom do you share your creative self? Whom do you motivate or inspire? Do you have a way to give of that self? Now, some of these ideas that you put into the chat of, caring, so many of you are using in amazing and deep creativity in your ideas for showing up for the community. Okay, in opening different kinds of support groups, in how you support other people. This could be a way to really utilize your creativity and motivation and express it in a way that is both deeply satisfying, fulfilling, and also lucrative. A support group doesn't necessarily have to be for free. Okay, you can set up some kind of support network that maybe is attached to or a part of a local charity and maybe get some funding for it. Or maybe you could charge some kind of membership fee, because from my personal experience, people who get things absolutely for free don't usually appreciate it. And often they just won't show up, or you're not going to go forward with it. I often find that, unfortunately. Of course, there's always exceptions. Of course, there's always exceptions, but in general, I've given away so many things for free to people who never showed up for them. So I'm just saying that, bear that in mind. There's, just because you're doing something that is meaningful and satisfying and so important and so vital and so necessary, it doesn't mean it needs to be for free. Okay? From where do you draw your inspiration, ideas, and motivation? It's sometimes so hard just to keep giving it out and giving it out. Where do you have the input? Who supports you on that journey? Do you have a place where you can brainstorm your ideas, where you can follow models that have been done before, so you don't have to invent the wheel while you're doing your important endeavors? Okay. How much time do you spend in these ways in a given week? Many devoted and dedicated Jewish women often feel that they want to get their primary satisfaction from their family, and they feel guilty if they don't. And it's really important that we realize that in our generation, where we've grown up following the model of Sarah Schneer, who inspired Jewish women to educate themselves and use their brain. It is very, very hard for Jewish women to find satisfaction from conversations with people who are the size of our, who come up to our waist. It's very, very hard. It's if they're also a part of our day and our week, then that's great. But to limit our intellectual stimulation to what we can get within the four walls of our home, and even if there's free information online, it's not the same as being exposed to the stimulation and the satisfaction of connection and exchange with other like-minded women in whatever you choose to do. When we share it with other people, it's going to be different. I'm going to finish going through these questions in the document, and then I'm going to go into the chat, and then I'm going to go back into the actual inventory itself. Okay. Is what you're doing working for you? Do you find that you need more input or more output? Okay, so this from the things that you put into the chat of creating these new groups, that you want to start going forward in with work, and you feel blocked in work. You want to create these organizations. You want to show up in a major way, okay, with your heart and soul, with such authenticity, and with the power that you have within you. You want to be able to show up like that. What do you need in order to be able to do that? Okay, do you have inspiring role models or mentors that can help you on your journey of doing this? Maybe you have local places where you can reach out. Maybe there are women's groups around that you can model yourself on. But if you're finding you don't have the role models, maybe it's time to reach out and find where you can get that. Okay, self-care. Which areas of self-care are you great at? What needs more balance? What support do you enjoy in your self-care? For example, walking with a friend, sharing healthy food choices with someone. Where do you get education, information, guidance, and support about your health and self-care? There are two kinds of self-care, rather, basic and nurturing. Basic kinds of self-care includes visiting the dentist, medical scans. I got a phone call from my local healthcare provider before Pesach. We want to book you in for a woman's kind of scan. And I'm like, now? Like before Pesach? They said, no, we have a mobile unit coming to Beitar the week after Pesach. Okay, fine. So I went along, and I saw many members of the community that I hadn't seen in 20 years, waiting in a caravan, waiting for, okay, basic self-care. It's not fun, and it could even be painful. Going to the dentist, getting your teeth cleaned, these things, taking medicines and supplements, okay, taking care of a knee surgery, chas v'shalom, if a person needs it in good time, so that we don't become utterly dependent on other people to take us around. Okay, basic self-care includes things that are sometimes painful and time-consuming and a bit of a pain, but we need to take care of them. And then nurturing self-care includes indulging things in nurturing ways. One of my clients recently told me that she just after years of trying, she finally got some kind of subsidy. And one of the first things she did was take a taxi she made a taxi to a doctor's appointment, and on the way back, she let the taxi drive her to a local nursery where she splurged on some beautiful plants for herself, and then she drove to another place where she bought herself something or other, and then she drove home, and then she had a beautiful time potting the plants and doing different things. So these are the things that she would never have allowed herself to do, but now that she had this subsidy, Baruch Hashem, she was able to indulge herself. Okay, that kind of thing is a little bit indulgent. It's not in any way over the top. It's not obsessive, but it's so healthy to be able to do that kind of nurturing thing for ourselves. Okay, we need that. It's not something extra. It's not something that we have to have a very special occasion to be able to make time for it. We need to nurture ourselves, especially if we don't have other people nurturing us. Okay, especially if we don't have somebody else who's saying, here, take this money and go and buy yourself something nice, or someone saying, here, let me take you out for a whatever it is, or what. If we don't have those kinds of people in our lives, then we need to do that for ourselves. We need it. It's a need. Okay. What are you doing in the area of basic self-care for yourself and in the area of nurturing self-care? And let's go through the conscientiousness. For whom are you responsible? Whether you're responsible for children or whether you're responsible for people at work. Maybe you are responsible, maybe you are, president of the homeowners association, you're responsible for the homeowners in your neighborhood. In what ways? In what ways are you responsible? What are your professional obligations? Are you fulfilling them? That's one part of it. In conscientiousness, how are you showing up? And then, on whom are you relying? Are they showing up for you? Are the people in your life conscientious? Are you relying on people who are not conscientious? Or do you have people who are also conscientious that you are relying on? And sometimes we can have again, I'm talking about identifying blind spots. Sometimes through being so conscientious ourselves, we may not realize that we're actually relying on people who aren't so conscientious for our needs. I had this where I had a doctor, and I was talking it over with a friend of mine who had a similar situation, where I was relying on a doctor who was really nice, okay, and very nice doctor. And I needed some help in a certain area, and I flew to England at that point, about, I think it was, I don't remember how many years ago. And I was talking to an old family doctor about it, and he suggested something, and I came back, and the doctor said, okay, and she wasn't very helpful. And I discovered that there were all kinds of options available that my very nice doctor was just simply not making me aware of. And I changed doctors. And that doctor helped me a little bit, but also didn't help me enough. And I was doing some research, and I went back to the second doctor, and I said, I really want to try X, Y, Z. And he said, no, just keep taking more of whatever it is. And I said, no, I'm not prepared to just do that. I changed to a third doctor. And the third doctor said, yeah, that's a very good idea. And try this for a month and do that. And he gave me the whole background of why that was a good idea. And I was able to improve my health in a certain situation drastically because of changing my doctor. I was a train wreck, or on the way to a train wreck of stress. I was teaching positive thinking, but I was still highly stressed in my daily life. I was doing a bunch of stuff that was just out of the ballpark kind of stressful. I was traveling every day, and I was being torn in many different directions with my children, because as Baruch Hashem, a privilege to marry off children, and so having children at home and the married children coming, many people think that when you marry off children, life becomes easier. But actually, children that live at home need us in predictable ways at predictable times. Children, once they moved out of the house, they tend to need us in unpredictable ways at unpredictable times. And so all of a sudden, things become way less predictable. And so that kind of added an additional element of stress. And so when I really made that decision, I'm not working on Tuesdays, and I need to rearrange my life, and I, Baruch Hashem, started coaching and started the coaching academy. All different kinds of things just moved into my life. My life changed 100%. Like it just changed 180 degrees. And so I want everybody to know that the one decision, the one shift that you make today, and then we have 15 minutes left, and I really want everybody to come out with one decision that helps to shift your life from 1 degree to 3 degrees today. It can shift your life trajectory and make such a huge difference 6 months down the line, a year down the line. You can make a decision today that is going to make an incredible difference to your life. Okay? So let's take a minute, open your own Life Matrix inventory. If you haven't opened it, make a copy now. You can make a copy here. I'll show you how to make a copy. You open it, you go to File, and you go here and make a copy, and then you can fill in your own copy. Okay, so I want you to just jot down. Because when we have it clear in something like this, what often happens is we get to see very clearly where there's a gaping hole. Okay, so relationships, where's the input? What's the input here in your relationships? Who's supporting you? Who's really there to support you when you're having a hard day? Who can you tell? When you're bursting with joy about something, who's safe to tell and won't be jealous of you, but will support you? Okay, who's there for you? What's the input? Relationships. Most of us probably have output, people we're giving to, but maybe it's not satisfying enough. Maybe your output feels a little bit too surface. Maybe you want more meaningful output. Okay. Time spent per week in these relationships. What are the strengths that you're bringing to the table? What are you expressing? This is a part of how you can get to know yourself here. Okay. What are your personal strengths that you are expressing in these relationships? And what I want you to write down one idea for a 1 to 3% improvement here. Okay. This is going to be where you come up with 4 suggestions for yourself for improvement in relationships, creativity, self-care, conscientiousness. Okay. Something that will give you, again, I'm not saying where you haven't had a job, I'm going to get a job. Or one of you who said, I want to start this support group for women who were sexually abused as children. What you're going to write down here is improvement is not, I'm launching my group tomorrow. That's not what you're writing down here.
Ma?
Remember to keep yourself muted?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I just went ahead and muted. So don't jump into something too big. You're going to aim for something that's a between 1 and 3% shift in your improvement. And what I want you to do is identify one person online. Who will you create as your buddy? Who can you ask to that you want to be do you want to be answerable to this one other person? Try and find one person. Identify in the chat now. Let me stop the share for a minute and go into the chat. Hi everybody, great to see all your faces and names again. Haven't seen you all for a little bit, so let me look at here and see what you've all been saying. There's many new messages since I got. The volunteer coordinator isn't calling me back. I called twice. Okay, so it's about finding some other place to go, right? I'm feeling tired and chasing my tail. I need to get more organized for it. Right. It's also about prioritizing it and getting one small shift that you can put into practice. That's what we're going to come up with today, Be'ez Hashem. What if I can't figure out what's stopping me from making a simple change, like getting enough sleep, for example? It seems like self-sabotage. I always find something else to do. It's hard to figure out what's causing procrastination, right? It's hard, but hopefully in this suggestion, where self-care would be getting more sleep, we're not talking about all of a sudden going to go to sleep 2 hours early every night. That's too much of a shift. But is there something that's a 1 to 3% shift that you can put into place? You don't have to figure out what's stopping you, but a tiny shift in that area, right? You get me? A tiny shift, and choose a buddy on who's on the chat now, to whom you're going to be answerable, that you're going to be in touch at the end of the week, okay? And say, yeah, I was able to put that one tiny shift in practice. Okay. I'm also quite pressured and busy with a young lady with MS almost daily. She is in her 30s, 39, and all her friends are too busy with no time for her since she got sick. That's 12 years ago. I feel guilty not being available for her, and now I realize her intensity is too much for me. I realize it's draining me. Wednesday is the day she's not with me. I go help my daughter, leaving me at home for myself. Okay, so setting a boundary with her and how much you're prepared to help her is going to be really important, right? It's not all on you, it's draining you. What if it's a child or a teen who's draining? So maybe you need more support. Maybe you need to hire help for that child, or maybe you can coach the child to be less draining. Okay, maybe the child actually needs help in taking care of themselves. A child or a teen especially can take care of some of their own needs. Okay, so it may be identifying how to hold the burden. Maybe another parent can be brought in, or maybe an aunt, or maybe a grandparent, or maybe another sibling. Okay, it's about thinking creatively about how to do this. Does input and output overlap? No. Input means, okay, it's a really great question, and I'll use the creativity because that's going to be where it's harder to understand. Creative output, I'm going to put a beautiful one of the beautiful goals that the women here have written in. Okay, want to let me just go and back in and find what we wanted to do. Let's see. I want to create a center to support pregnant women. Okay, I want to be a beautiful goal. I want to create a center to support pregnant women where we'll provide massages, healing, education, and pleasurable things. So that's an amazing creative endeavor. Okay. She's going to put lots of creativity into putting that into practice. This is output. It's going to be, she's going to be putting out something. It's going to bring her tremendous fulfillment and satisfaction. Hopefully she'll get some financial recompense from this as well. And it's going to be a successful business endeavor if she wants. Again, I don't know, but it potentially. So there's a lot of output there. Input is going to be who's going to be a mentor for you in helping you make the decisions about how you set it up. Who's going to support you when everything's on the edge and you're wondering, is anyone going to come that first day? How are you going to go about your marketing? You're going to talk over your ideas with. That's the input. Okay. The input is where do you get the support for this output so you've got the confidence, because when we have ideas, we don't necessarily get the confidence to put those ideas into practice just like that. Okay. And I'm going to just mention briefly that's what I am trying to do with my coaching academy, which I'm just letting everybody know I am launching. Be'ezras Hashem, my next cohort of the coaching academy next week, Be'ezras Hashem, where anybody who feels a calling to support other women in any way, whether you are a therapist, whether you're a coach, whether you're a mother or a grandmother or a neighbor or the head of your building society, whatever it is where you are called to support other people, and maybe you don't have as much support as you need, or you have creative ideas where you want to set up something really big and you have a dream, but you maybe don't have the support network to give you what you need to do it. The place to get confidence is in a safe think tank, in a safe, beautiful community that is built just to help you get the kind of community support and confidence that you need. That's what I built the Coach Training Academy for, to help people get the confidence that they need to be able to launch themselves and to do what they want. You don't have to want to be a coach in order to join this. And I'm going to take just 5 minutes or less to tell you about my coaching academy. And if anybody's interested in further details, you can ask me in the chat, and we can and we're going to come back to filling out our chart, Be'ezras Hashem. So I'm just going to take a little aside to tell you about this. I tried to create the kind of holding body of the training program that I got that I wished I got when I became a coach. I kind of fell into coaching at the beginning of COVID. As I mentioned, I was all over the place. I was teaching, I was traveling every day to a different neighborhood, and I was teaching at night, and my children wanted me to be home at night. And then with COVID, basically everything shut down. I wasn't able to travel to Beit Shemesh or Yad Binyamin or Yerushalayim. I was at home, and I wanted to start coaching. I thought, well, let me see how it goes. And that's where I really began coaching. But I started by taking one session at a time, and clients would take me for one session and we would see some movement, but I realized that I wasn't actually giving myself the time to show up for the client and give her the capacity to really have the transformation where that she could have. Giving myself the tools to really create a coaching package for my clients allowed me to show up with confidence and say to my potential clients, I know that I can support you through the transformation that you long to have. I know that when somebody comes to me and they want a transformation in their most complex, sticky relationships, because I have supported so many women through such a transformation, I have the confidence to say, I know I can trust, I know that you can do that. They don't know because they've never witnessed anybody going through that transformation. But I know I have transformed. I've supported women through the transformation so many times that I can tell you can do it. And I have that confidence that is rock solid within me that I can help that woman do it. You can only get confidence through practicing and talking over with other women who are in the process of building support networks, of building some kind of support, a holder of a safe haven, whether it's in coaching, whether it's in therapy, whatever it is that you're doing, to get the confidence that you know I can do this. And that's what women came out of it's only a 12-week course. It's a 90-day program. It's just 3 months where anybody who wants the confidence to know I can go into any challenging conversation, whether it's with a client or whether it's with a family member, you have a child, a teen who's struggling, but you'll know you have the confidence to go through any kind of challenging conversation with them, and you have the confidence to be able to support them and listen to them and have the kelim to move them forward and help them on a trajectory to help themselves. That's what coach training is about. It's about the freedom. Not only that, it's about financial freedom, because so many women don't have access to their own funds the way they need to. Maybe you want to support your husband so he doesn't have to work so hard. Maybe you want to be able to give your child therapy and you don't have the money to be able to give the child therapy. Maybe you want to be able to actually give yourself the chance to do something that you've been waiting to do, or put some money into launching some kind of additional life dream that you were never able to put yourself into. And getting an extra stream of income could allow you to have the confidence to say, I now have the extra income to do this. Or maybe you've been in a career that you like, but it's not your soul. It's not that which you really want, what you feel burning inside you. This is not where your soul really is. And you say, you know what? I could be that person who could show up and give. I could support. I've been supporting so many people through so many things. And now I'm ready to take it to the next level. Now I'm ready to say, I'm ready. I want to be able to charge for this, but I don't know how to. I don't have the confidence to charge. And so some of the things that we go through in the Coaching Academy is we support women how to confidently charge. We teach women how to manage emotions, your own and other people, so that if your teen is having a meltdown, you'll know how to help that child through their meltdown, a grandchild through their meltdown, your client through their mini tantrum that they're having with themselves. You'll be able to know how to do that. I had a mini tantrum after Pesach. And I was, I did it with myself. We all have those days where we have kind of meltdowns. We're like, I don't know if I can how I can do this. How can I get this all back together? There's so much going on. And I sat with myself for 2 hours and I did what we call the compassion call. I did with myself tools that I teach in my training academy. And within 2 hours, I was able to restore myself from utterly drained to energized and ready to go again. And I want women to have these tools. I want women to be able to do this for yourself and for your families and for your clients. if you don't know how to manage conflict. Conflict is one of the, one of the things that can tear families apart. And we understand both sides of the conflict. You're going to get tools for how to manage conflict within yourself and with other people and with your clients. How to powerfully hold space for somebody who is having really intense feelings. The kinds of support groups that women in this community are thinking of starting. Support groups for women, for wives whose husbands have strayed and they're still with them. Wives of women who have been sexually abused as children. You have to be able to hold space very powerfully for such deep, intense experiences. And so in the context of the Coaching Academy, you will learn how to, so that you have the confidence to know that whatever your client brings to you, you don't solve their problem. That's not what a coach does. We don't solve problems. We hold space for the feelings so that the client knows how to move forward themselves. Because anyone can give another person a laundry list of 25 things that they should do to solve their problem. But it takes an expert coach to listen long enough and well enough and deeply enough to hold space so that the client can then say, you know what? I know the one step that I am now ready to take for myself, whatever it is. And when we can support our client to that 1 degree shift, to that 1 degree move, then that one step prepares the way for the next step, to the next step, and then they're on a trajectory for success. So you learn how to do that. You learn how to overcome imposter syndrome. That's the voice that says, who are you? You can't do this. Who are you to charge? Who are you to support people like that? Who says that you can do it? Who says you're not going to hurt someone in the process? Who says that you're not going to make things worse? Of course, there's the fear that we're going to make something worse if we're stepping up for such sensitive people, right? People have been through such things. We're not going to make it worse. We're going to have siyata dishmaya, and we're going to know how to own up if we make mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes. Of course, we're going to make mistakes. But when we're honest and when we have the confidence that we have the shama within ourselves to show up and make a difference, we can bring out the best in other people. And we will learn how to make lifestyle changes, such as, for me, it was not working on Tuesdays, setting up my days the way so that I can have the time that I want with friends in person, because I resonate at a different frequency. I get to be myself so much differently because I get to spend 1 morning a week with a great friend. I get to be a different person because I go to art 1 morning a week. I get to be a different person when we create those lifestyle priorities. And I get to have my family come over on Tuesday afternoons and we have a ball, and I get to bring out all of my arts and crafts and papers and colors, and we have a Tuesday afternoon blast. And you know what? They don't come over every day. Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy having a specific time when the children come over and they feel cared for, and I feel that I have the output for them, but it doesn't take over my life in a way that it used to. I used to feel like I had to be always and forever available. I don't have to be forever available now when I make those choices. So this is in order that you can have the confidence to show up, whether you're a mother, a bubby, a neighbor, a friend, whether you're already a professional, a therapist, or a coach, and you want to know, how do I actually get people to sign up with me? How do I actually enroll clients in a way that is effective? You will get the exact model that I use in order to enroll clients, Baruch Hashem, that changed my life and changed the way I practice coaching and changed the way I show up. And you will get the confidence to know that you have a unique set of life experiences. I'm going to give you one example of, and then we'll get back into what we're doing today. One example of a coach who went through my coach training, because I think it's so instructive. We think, well, who wants coaching? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I really want a coach. Okay, no one thinks that. But there was one, and I won't even say where she's from, one lady who was in my coaching academy who had a child who went through some brain damage. Okay, lo aleinu v'lo aleichem. No one should know from such a thing. She was able to believe in that child, and she supported that child through rehabilitation so that that child became massively functioning and healthy again. And she realized that she has now a whole set of tools to be able to support other mothers, parents through that journey, that if she would have had that, it would have helped her, it would have helped her confidence initially, but that she had this whole set of tools that other people simply don't have. She didn't have She doesn't have internet access. She joined the classes only by phone, but she was able to complete the coach training. She advertised herself by print mail on her, in her local neighborhood. And she was able to help other parents who were struggling with brain damaged children by coaching them and helping them to believe in their child's rehabilitation and development. Everybody, every one of us has been through stuff. We've been through stuff, and we can coach people who've been through those things, because our ideal niche, our ideal clients are those women who've been through the stuff that we've been through, because we know what it took to get through it, and we can help them. And it doesn't mean you're going to be a general coach and who's going to come to me. When you are talking the language of the women who know what you've been through, okay? I went through so many personal challenges in relationships that I now know how to coach basically anyone through anything in a personal relationship challenge. I haven't yet had anybody who came to me with something that was too big. And Hashem Yishmor, that we should, that everybody should be protected. But there's all kinds of dysfunction interpersonal. I wouldn't, there are many people that I wouldn't feel so confident coaching. But when it's stuff that I know that I've been through, I know that I can coach. And I know that everyone who's been through your own journey, and all of you have been through your own journey. One coach asked me, what, I go through a 3-month training and all of a sudden I'm a coach? No, you've been through your life. I'm just going to put a little gnome on the top of the giant that you already are. You're already a giant. You've already got so much life experience. All you need is the little gnome that's me on your shoulder saying, you can do it. You can be the coach. You can now guide other people through it. You can have that rock solid confidence in yourself that you can show up. And I want you to know there are women who need help, just like my coach, who there are women who had brain damaged children, and they don't know where to turn. They don't know who can help them. And she now can help them because she has the confidence to know that she can give them and she can support them, and not just have 2 or 3 free phone calls and then the parent doesn't want to call anymore because she feels guilty. But she knows now how to charge for a journey that she's going to support the client through, and the parent knows, I'm going to invest in getting myself a coach so that I know how to get through that journey. There are so many painful, challenging, life-wrenching journeys that we've been through, and we want to turn that pain into a purpose. And we can you can get yourselves the input. Let's go back into our charts. You can get yourself now the input to the support you need. Let's go back to Life Matrix Inventory. Let me just start a share again. 1 second. There we go. Share. You can get the input in the creativity, in relationships, in conscientiousness. You'll know how to do that. But now, okay, I want you to take a couple of minutes, ladies. Go through this, okay? Go through this now. And I want you to choose. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to identify for yourselves. What is one shift that you can make in improvement in either in relationships or in creativity or in self-care or in conscientiousness? Here, identify one step which could shift your life in the right direction between 1% and 3%. This will likely be an uncomfortable or slightly hard step. If you can choose something a little uncomfortable or a little bit hard, and choose a buddy from the community here, okay, who you can make yourself responsible. I'm going to stop the share again. Okay, look in the community. See if you can find somebody who you want to ask if they will please hold space for you with this. Okay. Any questions, put it into the chat to me. Okay. Let me see. I've been searching for answers. I'm trying to see what you're about, but I can't come with real answers. Answers to what? I don't know what you're talking about here. I should just accept that my life is okay and stop trying. Answers for what? You wrote it to everybody, so maybe you'll tell me what you're talking about. How do I send a recording to a friend? I'm going to send you the recording and you can forward this recording. Okay? I'm just going to show everybody now, with your permission, a little bit of what actually is in the coach training. Okay? Let's just show you what's in the coach training. Here we go. And I want to let everybody know that today there's a special offer. You get to save $500 if anybody who joins within 24 hours of this presentation, whether you're listening to this as a recording or whether you are on live. If you decide to leap into your coaching power, see my cute little leaping deer here? This is because we can take the leap and you can leap into your coaching power. You don't have to want to be a professional coach to take this training, but you will get the tools and confidence to be a safe haven for your loved ones. And you get one-on-one time with me. This is what you're going to get when you join my coach training program. It's starting next Monday, May 5th. You will empower others to know their vision. You'll join a safe, warm community space. If you enjoy being in our community today, the women who join my coaching academy are amazing women. You get the support of the group. You get one-on-one personal sessions with me so that it's personalized. It works for you. And you get buddy coaching. You will practice. You get 12 group coaching sessions with me. You will get 8. You get 10 pre-recorded trainings. So you get the trainings that are pre-recorded and then group sessions to practice what we're going to be learning. And you get 2 one-on-one sessions with me to address your individual needs. You'll get in addition 6 presentations by inspirational from women who are listed on my site, members of my expanded community who, Baruch Hashem, support me. Here you can see their faces down here. Our experts, Tamar, Rivka, Rena, Naomi, and Leora Gruen, Yocheved Rottenberg, with whom I wrote the book together with her. You get exclusive membership to an interactive site where we share reflections, and I send out questions for reflection. You can share them privately or publicly with the group. You also get access to all of my pre-recorded inspirational series. So you get an entire library of Jewish hashkafa, of Jewish positive thinking. And at the end of the course, if you fulfill the qualifications, you will get my personal certification that you went through my training program. This is the dates. We take a break for Shavuos. This is the dates. It's a 90-day program, apart from the 2-week break for Shavuos. It's going to be at this time, 5 p.m. Israel, 10 a.m. Eastern, or 3 p.m. UK. We will be graduating Gimel Av. Right before Tisha B'Av, we will have a graduation. These are expert speakers. And the course components are over 4,550. But if you sign up today, you get to save the regular course price. It will revert to 1,000, just under 1,500. That's the regular course price in 2 days. But the special offer today, within 24 hours of this presentation, is either 3 payments of $350 or in 1 payment of $990. If you choose to use the payment plan, you can click here. This will take you to PayPal. I'm just going to show you how to do this, because you can click on this and you don't have to have a PayPal account. You can just click pay with debit or credit card, and it goes through PayPal, and then you continue to pay with it with your credit card. So you put in your email address, and then I'll put in one of my other living accounts, my Chai Living account. I have a bunch of email accounts. Continue to payment, and then it uses PayPal, but you get to pay with your credit card. Okay, you put in your credit card. It's completely safe payment through, and this is 3 payments of $350. That's how that works. Okay, so you can use the PayPal button without. So let's go back to higher coaching. Okay. And the same is with one payment of $9.90. With one payment of $9.90 with PayPal, you can use this button now. If you want to join now, you can do this, and then I will be able to welcome you even right now as we speak into the Coaching Academy. And I will be delighted to welcome you. I'm delighted to welcome everybody who wants to join. But you have this option for the next 24 hours from today till tomorrow. If anybody has any questions about, I'm going to stop the share for the minute. I'm going to put the link into the chat. One second, let me just find, here we go. Here is the link. If you want to go, we just send it to everybody. If anybody wants to go to that site, Becoming a Coach, you can go to that site and Be'ezras Hashem, join the Coaching Academy. You can send a recording of this to any friend who is interested. I will be sending out the recording Be'ezras Hashem after it's finished. It might take an hour or so for the recording to be processed, and I will send you all the recording, and you can send it to anybody that you like. Okay, it's a free class, and you can do whatever you like. So you're saying you're asking yourself, how do I answer all the questions on the matrix? You mean it's hard to even reach any of the answers? You can't come up with real answers? You mean you're so plagued with self-doubt that even answering one question feels inauthentic? Is that what you're saying? Okay, so just answer whatever comes to the top of your head. Sometimes you're thinking a bit too deeply. Okay, allow yourself to just answer off the top of your head. What do you think? Okay, what do you think? Off the top of my head, what do I think might be the answer? And then allow yourself to just put in what, okay? Is that a good way of doing it? Don't think too deeply. No one is going to be grading you on your answers to this. No one is going to be calling you to task or saying, no, you didn't fill it out right. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just you. Okay, but just whatever you think. And then notice if there's any kind of blind spot that you may not have seen just because it's a space there. If you see that you don't have anything to write in a certain space, then maybe that's your blind spot. Thank you for the encouragement. I reached out to someone that I connected with in one of your classes. It took courage, but I'm glad I did. She said that we might talk again in the future. I like to listen to others and give them support. I am so grateful. I'm so glad that you did that. Well done for reaching out and for creating a buddy to do that with. Fantastic job. Okay. So does input mean support for self-care and creativity and conscientiousness? What else would input mean in those areas? So input means role models. Input means the right doctors. Okay. Input means, let's say, reaching out for research or people who seem to be very knowledgeable about experimental areas that are being promoted in maybe an area that you're struggling with. Maybe if there's a health issue and you reach out to people who maybe seem to know more about it, and you get input in ideas. It could be getting a mentor. It could be talking over with a friend. Yeah, does that answer the question about what input means? Input for self-care could also be I hope I answered that. If I didn't answer that, let me know. Okay? Anybody have any other questions, ladies and friends? Anybody who's on? Okay. Any feedback, any answers, anyone want to write down in the chat one little shift that you want to be able to make? Anybody want to do that? You want to put in one little shift that you want to commit to making in the chat so that we can just give you a little call out for that one shift that you want to make. Anybody want to write that in the chat? Go on, be brave. Write one little shift that you want to make in the chat. And if you want
Ahinda,
it
I just want to say thank you.
okay, great. Thank you for being here.
And this is my self-care for today. Is that good enough? I took the
Yeah,
time
that's great.
out, tuning everybody out, even at work. Don't tell anyone, but being here with Ahinda, and that's a treat. Thank
I'm
you.
so grateful. Sending you a big kiss. I'll send out some more love. Yeah. Okay, good for you. Okay. Anybody else wanna? This was self-care for you too? Good, I'm so grateful. Take on a
Ahinda,
creative endeavor. Okay, yay, Leah. I want to take on a creative endeavor like art or drama. Okay, make it even smaller. What kind of thing, what kind of one tiny step could you take in art or drama? Okay, it's a little bit too big, something like that. What, try and think to yourself, what can you make it that's a little smaller than that? What one step could you take? Okay, just try and make it a little bit smaller. What can you do? Okay. Anybody else want to put anything in the chat before we finish? I know we're running out of time, and I promised I wanted to keep it to an hour, and I went over. I'm going to research a class or a drama group. Yes, excellent. Researching it, fabulous. Great job. I'm going to devote 2 specific hours to work from home so I don't feel behind or guilty. Amazing. I'm going to go out with a friend once a week. Fabulous. Great, everybody. Wonderful job. Okay, I hope everybody takes away one small shift that you can do for yourself. I'm going to arrange more time with my paid supervisor. Fantastic. That's going to give you the support that you need. There you go. Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Please feel free to share this recording with anybody that you think might benefit from it. And till next time, well done, everybody. Bye for now.